Simple, rustic, and absolutely mouth-watering. Ciao a tutti! I'm Nicole with Piatto Recipes, and today we're going to be giving common button mushrooms, also known as champignon, the gourmet treatment. A quick, simple mushroom pasta recipe that you can make any day of the year. Let's get started. First, let's talk mushrooms. For this recipe, we need about 1 pound or 500 grams of button mushrooms. Here I'm using simple white button mushrooms, which you can find in Italy all year round. And as you can see, these are certified Italian mushrooms. I always say that there are 3 levels of clean when it comes to mushrooms. Mushrooms can and do carry bacteria. At the bare minimum, you're going to want to brush off any loose dirt with a dry brush. It could even be a cheap dry toothbrush that you've designated for the task, or a dry pastry brush. To clean the outside of mushrooms, you can simply use a damp cloth, like this, and give them a gentle wipe. There are times when mushrooms will be very dirty, but we never want to soak mushrooms because, like a sponge, they will absorb water, and that can change the taste and texture of the mushrooms. So what if your mushrooms are really dirty? It's enough to give them a quick rinse under running water, and then take a dry towel and quickly wipe them clean. So in short, a quick shower, yes. Full bath, no. No, 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 no. Don't worry, we're not going to waste these stems. There will be some of the mushroom stem that we're definitely going to be using here today. For next level clean, I use an ingenious trick that I learned from Nonna Margherita. Button mushrooms have a membrane that actually cover the gills. And so once you pop off the cap, it's very easy to take a paring knife and peel a thin layer of the mushroom off using a paring knife, just like you would a piece of fruit. Now that's overkill for a recipe like this because we're going to be heating the mushrooms, and that's going to kill most, if not all, of the nasty bacteria that sometimes are found on mushrooms. But if you ever want to serve mushrooms raw, on a salad for instance, you definitely want to go with this next level of clean. Here's an example of a mushroom that's next level clean. All right, let's finish prepping these mushrooms because this is the hardest part of the whole recipe. All right, our mushrooms are clean and we're ready to chop them. Now I want to roughly chop about 1/3 of these mushrooms, and for the rest I'm going to finely mince them for our sauce. I'm going to take the big mushrooms for chopping because I'm going to show you a special technique for mincing mushrooms, another ingenious Nonna solution. For these mushrooms, we want to actually just feel some meaty bites. So we're just going to chop them roughly. However, if we chop all the mushrooms roughly, we won't have the same level of intensity on our mushroom sauce. For the rest of the mushrooms, we want to finely mince them. Now we can use a knife for this job. Since I like to think I have mad knife skills, I would probably do that. But many people are less confident with the knife, and I know that when Grandma makes this dish, when Nonna Margherita makes this dish, it would take her a long time to finally mince the mushrooms. So what Nonna does is she actually uses a simple garlic press to smash the mushrooms, just like this. And as you can see, they pop out pretty well minced, pretty well smashed. It's an ingenious solution that can save you some time and headache. Alternatively, you can smash the mushroom and then chop it, and that also makes mincing a quicker process. But we're going to use Nonna's method here today, since this is her recipe. Of course, you could also use a food processor to do this job. There are many ways to get to the desired result here. All right, we're good to go. Our other mushrooms. Now what about the stems? The first thing you need to do with stems is to obviously cut off the super dirty part, the part that was in the ground. And I'm going to show you what Nonna does for those of you who want to follow her recipe step by step. When she wants super clean mushroom stems, Nonna actually uses a simple potato peeler. We'll just pick a few that look meaty. Mushroom stems are a bit tougher, so I'm going to chop them up rather than trying to break them down into crushed mushrooms. And our mushrooms are ready to be cooked. There are very few ingredients in this dish. We really want to taste those mushrooms. However, we do want to add 1 clove of garlic. And I'm going to do nothing more than remove the skin here and smash it in order to release the flavor. We're going to be adding this to the sauce, but then removing it once its work is done. This is a common technique in Italian cooking when you want to add a little bit of garlic flavor to something, but not overwhelm it. And last but not least, what would an Italian pasta be without flat-leaf Italian parsley? And here, in fact, we want to use about a handful in this dish. One ingredient I love to add to this recipe is a bit of fresh tarragon. Though strictly speaking, that's more of a French herb and isn't often used in Italian cuisine. But I recommend giving it a try because it really adds a special something. Tarragon is delicious with eggs, mushrooms, you name it. All right, so our ingredients are prepped. That's all there is to this dish. We're gonna add a little oil and a bit of butter. And of course the pasta. Italians use many different kinds of pasta with a sauce like this. One classic choice is tagliatelle. Today we do not have tagliatelle in the house, and so I'm going to reach for something I know you all know and love, spaghetto quadrato, which is a spaghetti that has a square cut. In the meantime, I'm putting my pasta on to boil in salted water. Italians often criticize Americans and non-Italians for adding butter to traditional recipes where it doesn't belong. But this is actually a recipe in which butter is often added. In fact, we're going to add roughly 3 tablespoons of butter. And with the butter, we're going to add 1, 2, 3, 8, at least 9 tablespoons of olive oil. I'm going to put that clove of garlic in so it can start doing its job. And our parsley. The butter and the oil is the base of the sauce here, so it's appropriate to add more than we might in another recipe. Our mushrooms. Give this a stir. Medium heat. Covered for about 5 minutes. And then we can remove the lid. A few pinches of salt. Black pepper to taste. Pepe nero va bene qui, eh? Now I'm gonna crank the heat up here. I'm gonna give it a stir. And now we want to sweat out that excess liquid from the mushrooms, which the salt will actually help to extract. And to do this, we're going to raise the heat for a few minutes. Let those mushrooms cook down. It's totally worth the wait. Add the drained pasta directly to the sauce, along with a few tablespoons of finely grated Parmigiano Reggiano cheese. We can always add a bit more oil after the fact, which is a great choice because extra virgin olive oil is at its healthiest when you add it unheated as a final touch to the dish, which is of course really common in Italy. You can find this exact recipe in our cookbook, Pasta Affair, which you can find on Amazon. And in fact, this is the recipe I'm following here today. If you like this recipe or learned something new, help us grow by giving us a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, consider subscribing to our channel, where we share classic recipes from Italy and beyond. And let us know in the comments what kind of mushroom you prefer. Cremini, porcini, truffle, simple button mushrooms. Ciao, ciao!